This municipal lot is Torrington, so it starts with Torrington Municipal Lot, it ends the day in Torrington.
He's got down on his, he's got a, and that'll go start into the,
This one goes all the way back and forth from Torrington.
he's got a, it starts at Torrington.
So does the college one.
Used to see what's popped up.
Community college downtown. There it is.
I mean, if
Right.
he's, there's no, it's not.
And then back to Torrington, and back up here, and back down there. So this route here, we're accumulating a lot of miles going back to Torrington.
This, she's,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day.
and how many people notice that?
Yeah, so when they leave Torrington, there's people on it, and then during the day, they kind of, some go back and forth in town. But I don't know if they go back and forth in town, they're going to Torrington.
You don't know if it's serving Torrington or Winston.
Right, and if it is just, if it's Winston, then there may be a more efficient way to do it.
Uh-huh.
Or historical commission.
Maybe.
All right.
Just this, I have a couple other items. Candy, I think Terry flagged something for you, but I will get it for you just a moment.
Thank you. This is the report that was missing.
This is the missing items. Ready to get you?
All right. Good evening, everyone. Today is Monday, August 21st, 2023. It's a little after 7 p.m. I'd like to call the regular meeting for the Board of Selectmen to order.
Candace Bouchard.
Jonathan Moorhart.
Candy Perez?
Josh Kelly.
Todd Archelashi.
Glenn Albanese.
Stephen Sedlak.
Linda Grappo.
Jack Bork.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
agenda review. Seeing nothing to add, can I have an approval of minutes from our regular meeting on August 7th?
So moved.
Thank you, Jonathan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Linda. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Abstaining?
I'll abstain.
601.
Did we need to do with anything with the minutes from that meeting before that, or is that all set?
That's
We
not,
approve them?
that's not voted on.
Yeah, I put them in the meeting minutes you just approved.
Okay.
They were approved with the changes as recommended and presented,
Yes, because
and you documented that in this minute.
I did.
set minute.
And Candy was what you
Yep.
had requested.
Yeah, we didn't know if we had to do anything with it specifically, or if you
Yeah.
just,
Moving on to item number 5, citizens' comments. The Board of Selectmen welcomes public comments. Speakers be limited to 3 minutes or less, and may speak once. Anyone wish to speak? I might be home early tonight.
don't talk too early, Todd.
Yeah.
Moving on to item number 6, new employee introductions. Josh?
So thank you to the members of Town Hall staff who are here in attendance tonight. We do have a lineup of some new employee hires, some of whom have been here for several months now, some of whom are new on the job as of the last month or so. But as per board's tradition, I would like to give each of them the opportunity to come up, talk a little bit about yourself, your background, why you decided to come to Winchester, how it's been on the job so far, and then the Board of Selectmen will have the opportunity to ask questions if they see fit, or simply say thanks for coming. So we have a little bit of a list here. Sorry, this was not in order of preference by any means. But starting off, Jeff, would you like to join us at the front?
So they have trouble hearing you at home if you don't speak into the microphone, so.
Pull it as close as you can. Yeah. Said pull it, not push it.
Thanks for having me. Jeff Green, been on the job since May 15th. I've got a background in community development as far as being employed at the Waterbury Development Corporation for 5 years. Also been on the City Plan Commission in Waterbury up until I started this job for about 20 years. So I had a different perspective than being land use staff. It's certainly different, but I am enjoying it so far. I'm not sure what you might want to know about me, but any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Have you liked it so far?
It's good. It's certainly challenging, balancing the three different hats that I'm wearing. Sometimes I feel like I'm not getting enough done, but try to get something done in every one of those aspects every day and just keeping at it like that.
Keep moving forward. Any questions from the board?
The three different hats?
Zoning enforcement official, inland wetlands agent, and blight officer. I make friends everywhere in town.
Now, I've had some positive feedback about your proactive actions with blight,
Thank you.
and thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The neighbors are very, very happy.
There's quite a backlog to get through, but we're trying to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome to the family. Keep moving forward, and we'll hear good things.
All right, thank you.
Good, thank you. Shane?
Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everyone. So just a little bit about myself. I'm originally from Fairfield. I've been in the area for about 18 years, living in Barkhamsted and Colebrook. My husband and I bought a house in Winstead near the lake a couple years ago. So it's been a nice opportunity to kind of work in the town that you live in. It's my first experience with the municipality. I've worked office management and bookkeeping for private construction companies. But it's been kind of nice getting to meet community members, getting to know your town a little bit better, kind of makes you a little more invested in where you live. So I'm liking the job, still learning, but looking forward to continue learning.
When did you start?
3 months ago, same as Jeff. Yep.
Questions from the board? Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jamie, you want to join us?
Hi, I'm Jamie Duffy. I have lived in Winstead for most of my life, born here, raised here. Moved out of state for quite some time to New York. Most of my career I did education. So I was on the rec board for about 7 years and decided to join the recreation department. So now I'm working here. It's been about 3 months, I want to say, almost 4.
Yep.
But it's going good. We are busy, we are steady, it's going good. All these new projects, I love it. So yeah, I'm excited.
How did summer camp go?
I'm sorry?
Summer camp, how'd it
Summer
go?
camp was busy. It was very busy, but it was good. So I do like the fact that we have the 2 age groups separated now. So we get a lot more participants that way because we can house them differently.
Oh, good.
So yeah,
Is your part-time?
yes, I am part-time.
How many hours?
I work 15 hours.
50.
Yes, sometimes less, but never more. So usually somewhere roughly between 10 and 15 hours a week.
Do you have a regular schedule?
I do not have a regular schedule. So I'm all over the place. A lot of it, I do remote work because I'm doing so many different projects, so it's a remote work. I also work down at the playground building, so if Tanya's up here in her office, I can work down in that office there. So we work things out. Anything else? No? Maybe? Are you thinking?
No.
Oh,
No, you're
okay.
good.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for being here.
Dawn, would you like to join us? Come on. Okay. Sorry, Donald. Yep. No, sorry, Don.
John was my father. My mother couldn't get my name right either half the time.
I could say something too, but I won't.
Don Morelli, I worked for W.B. Mason for 15 years. I grew up in Torrington. I live now in Litchfield. one of the reasons this coming here, as I said in the interview, it's a short drive from my house on the highway. It's a great town. I've spent a lot of time in this area, especially Candy will tell you on the lake. I love going to Island Lake and fishing, sometimes with Glenn once in a while, right? So really enjoy that, and some great local businesses here, which I patronize every so often, so I really like the area. I've been here since August 1st, and everybody's been very helpful, and I really enjoy working with the people I've been working with so far. Any questions?
Does he have multiple responsibilities, just, or besides purchasing?
Purchasing agent is the primary responsibility, yeah, but this is, as you may recall, and you're about to hear kind of the other side of it, Mark Douglas, when he served as purchasing agent, really had a dual role of purchasing agent and IT coordinator or director. We've split those roles out. So Dawn here serves as our purchasing agent, and you're about to hear from Alexa Hinton, who serves as our communications and IT coordinator.
And you are full-time, right, Doug?
No, 25 hours.
Yep. So they are both part-time. Yep. And Alexa works 15 hours a week. So together, combined, they do 40 hours a week. Okay.
No questions?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Last but not least, Alexa, if you'd like to join us.
Hi, my name is Alexa. My background's a little different than everyone else's. This is my first job out of college, so it's a little different. But I did have a lot of experience in college. I did start with a nonprofit organization. It's called the Arc of the South Shore. There's also the Arcs here. And I started a campaign plan from them from start to finish. It's about 40 pages, so lots of experience doing social media and that kind of stuff. I double majored and double minored in business administration, marketing, public relations, and communication. So lots of different knowledge under my belt. Working here so far has been great. Everyone's very nice. It's also nice to set like a precedent, as like this is the first role that this town has had. So it's nice to, you know, set that. Any questions?
You do the technology too, right?
Yes.
Checking up on like the computers and stuff
Yes, so like
Staff.
hardware stuff.
for staff?
Yeah, so like if the mouse isn't working or like the monitor's not working, that's me.
And Alexa, starting tomorrow, is going to be partnering up with a representative from Southridge Technologies, which is our IT firm. They are going to have somebody in our offices working from Winchester for 6 hours a week, so it's a little bit better access for us. We can stop into an office, ask them questions. Alexa's going to be sitting right there next to the representative, learning all she can from them, so that she's all the better of a resource for our staff while she's here on the job, and making those connections with Southridge for level of efficiency. It'll be great.
Alexis, I have noticed that there's been many, many more postings on
Yes.
Facebook. Thank you for that.
Yes, well, the goal is to post once a day, so coming up with a list of things to post and making sure everyone's aware of everything.
Usually there's at least one or two a day,
Yes,
and thank you for that.
no problem.
Keeping us informed.
Yes.
Do you take the photos?
So it depends. I am going to take some photos and videos, I think this week and next week, for the senior center. So some posts and pictures will be from me, but the ones I've posted previously are not from me.
Okay.
However, I do make ads. So if you've seen like the Winstead post that I just made about happiness for beginners, I made that, different type of informational flyers.
I'm thinking about the public works road work.
No, that was
The
Alan.
public works.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Other questions? Thank you for coming. Welcome.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you to all members of the staff. I really appreciate you coming down. You are welcome to stay if you so choose as members of the public, but also don't feel like you have to. I want to give you all the out in case you want to march right on them. No problem.
Moving on.
everyone. Have a good night.
Good
Yeah,
night.
bye.
Good night, good to meet you all.
Moving on to item number 7, the town manager's report. Yes.
Good evening, everybody. A few updates for your knowledge. first, and I'm going to be skipping through the sheet if you're following along, members of the board. But the one thing I want to start by discussing up front, because it was discussed at our last meeting, a first-time home buyer seminar. We have town staff that has jumped right into that task. Thank you for bringing it back to our attention, really. I think it's really important, especially right now with the market the way that it is. It's hard to get an offer in. It's hard to, in many cases, afford to buy. But there are many more options and opportunities through different types of mortgages, through, I think, just a lot of knowledge that many first-time homebuyers aren't aware of to get started. And it's very possible to find a house that you own where the mortgage costs as much, if not maybe even a little less than some of the rents you might see here in this area or surrounding towns. So we are putting together a first-time homebuyer seminar. There are 2 local real estate agents and a mortgage broker who are working with town staff to put this together. The goal is to hold a seminar at least once in person on Wednesday, October 11th at 6 p.m. here in this room. Presentation to be given on said screens behind us and beside us. And everyone's invited to attend. Of course, we are going to, with the help of Alexa, who was sitting here just a few moments ago, make sure that that is well recorded. And we are going to put that together in a very easy to digest and hear format that will go on the town's website and on the town's YouTube channel. So a great opportunity for people to come in person, get their questions answered, but also a great opportunity for us going forward to refer people to, so that we don't have to hold seminars in person all the time in order for individuals to hear a little bit about it and get some questions answered. With grants, the town we are currently in the process of finalizing a Round 18 Brownfields grant application through DECD. We did apply for a Round 17 application, which was granted, which will help with some of the environmental studies over at 10 Bridge Street Building Number 1. They are over at 10 Bridge Street Building Number 1. They are not ready to move forward with further remediation at this point. They need to finish their Phase 3 study. So they will not be pursuing a Round 18 grant application. I do expect they will be ready for a Round 19. But we are looking at focusing on improvements at the parking lot on the corner of Lake and Meadow Streets. Capping that area would be a benefit to the town. Making sure that we are improving that area is going to be a benefit economically as well as environmentally. We have also finalized 2 steep grant applications just this past Friday. They are each total $250,000. And they will go to support 10 Bridge Street. That's building number 1. The development, specifically a re-roofing on that building, and similar reuse and development at 44 Elm Street to make that building usable to some capacity. We will discuss the historic district items a little bit later tonight, so I won't go into depth right now. With human resources, we are really working hard to get vacancies listed and filled. We don't have all of our vacancies listed at this moment in time, but by the end of the week, I hope to have several more. We do have vacancies listed right now specifically in our police department and in the Department of Public Works. So if you out there, whoever you might be watching at home, watching this recorded here in the audience tonight, if you know somebody who is interested in a career in law enforcement, the Winchester Police Department wants you. Please check out, we have both a recruiting video that's been posted to our social media channels and our website, as well as some specific detailed information about salary and benefits that could certainly benefit you if you decide to join our ranks in the Winchester PD. We do have several openings, some of which have yet to be posted within the Department of Public Works. If any careers in that track interest you or someone you know, please make sure you're making those referrals and checking out the website. So related to jobs, but in the community, we are in the midst of planning our next job fair. That is also going to be held on Wednesday, October 11th. I will make sure that that circulates. We're going to have flyers circulating very soon. We will also be flyering for the first-time homebuyer seminar. I didn't actually mean to have those 2 events occur on the same day. They're not at the same time. The job fair will be earlier in the day. The first-time homebuyer seminar will be later in the day. But I think that the 2 going together means a lot. And I hope that folks will see how those 2 items can be interrelated. With our Mountainside RFP process, we are asking that all proposals be turned into the town by 9 a.m. on September 22nd, 2023. The items will be opened at that point in time. And we have had some some interest from a number of different agencies that we didn't hear from the first time around. So I'm optimistic, I'm positive on that. I will not discuss nipper bottle deposit town earnings too much tonight, but know that we do have a couple proposals that will be coming forward, I believe, at the next meeting. Specifically, we have both proposals for town-wide cleanups that could occur, as well as a proposal that I've been discussing with a few of the other municipal CEOs in our area about the RRDD1 refuse disposal district, that we have an opportunity to move forward with greater organic disposal through a level of composting that might be well paid for, well covered by the nipper bottle deposits that the town has accumulated so far. With parking, we do have a request out to the Department of Transportation to give a ruling on some proposed ideas that we have related to new Main Street parking concepts. These will not be finalized by DOT, but we are asking for their feedback before we come before you so that you know what is permissible and what is not permissible, so that you can make some educated decisions about how parking rules and regulations may change if you so choose, or you may want to keep the same going forward. But I know that parking has been an issue that we've been discussing ad nauseum, and I'd like to give you something to work with if at all possible. Related to training, I really want to thank not just the Board of Selectmen, but also the public for giving us the time and the patience, given that we took a Friday morning about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. All town staff participated in a training that was focused on team and trust building. So thank you for supporting us in that. Thank you for your patience with Town Hall being closed on that particular day. It was well worth it from my perspective, and we're very excited to be back in the office now, of course, assisting you. That was a one-day disruption. And related to unions, we do have negotiations with the police union underway. We have some dates that have been floated related to when formal exchanges can occur. I am hoping to have that wrapped up, hopefully by around mid-October. A few items for your calendar. Town offices will be closed in observance of Labor Day on Monday, September 4th. That means the next regular Board of Selectmen meeting will be on Tuesday, September 5th at 7 p.m. here in this building. And then the following regular board meeting will be back on a Monday, September 18th at 7 p.m. Any questions that I can answer for the board? Candace?
How can the town apply for a steep grant for a private building?
So it would be a public-private partnership. There are some rules and regulations around the steep grants and how we're able to move forward with that. Because we've already partnered with them for DECD grant money, and we're able to help use public funds to benefit that project moving forward, and because of the scope of their project seeking public funds in other areas, including through HUD at the state level and federal level, we have an opportunity to partner with them to put forward a steep application. The purpose of which, of course, STEEP is a small town economic assistance program. So we focused our application past tense on making sure that we are focused on downtown development, on bringing more people, more buildings back to life, and so forth. It was a little more complicated to put that application together, but by framing it in the right way, we were able to move forward with it.
So when are we going to get the scope of 10 Bridge Street and what you're negotiating with them? Because we have no details on what they're doing or anything.
Right. So if you're interested in seeing the phase 1 and 2 environmental reports at this point, we do have those there on file here with the town. They're working on a phase 3 right now with the funding that was secured.
No, I'm looking for the overall project. I don't want to, yeah.
Right, and so the next step for them, I was told by the end of October, they will be in front of planning and zoning and inland wetlands, not necessarily in that order, to move forward with their project. So they will be presenting the full scope of work at that time.
But how do we know they're applying for funding elsewhere?
That's just through conversations that we've had. They have not made an application for HUD funding at this point in time, but we were partners with each other through the DECD Brownfields program already. So they've already received a level of public funding with our help.
I also have questions on that.
Okay.
Because of the private part of it, and if it's gonna do a roof for them, then the person that owns it, this is gonna benefit the person that owns it. So what kind of contract do we have with that group to be able to put forward this kind of money into a private person's hand? because it's not a town project like 44 Elm is the bank. Right?
Yep. No, I understand.
So the bank, we own it. But now we're giving a significant amount of our steep funding, as Candace was saying, to a private developer.
Yep.
We don't know what the project is. When you talk about HUD, is this a market rate? Is this gonna be all apartments? Is there any retail? So what's the economic part? Is it gonna be affordable housing? What's it gonna be that we're investing a steep fund that we have used in the past to do many things here in town?
Well, our primary focus with this application is the roof because it's about the preservation of the building and it's about the economic driver that that building can be.
do
So
we
it's not
tax-
actually about the housing.
Do we
It's not
tax them
actually-
on that when the roof's done?
Oh, yeah, it will be taxable, absolutely.
So they're not looking for any abatements or
Nope.
anything like that? So we have, and what agreements do we have in place? When
Right.
we're gonna be giving that, we've gotten the Brownsfield money, and I understand Brownsfield a little bit, I understand helping with the Brownsfield a little bit, but now we're investing in a roof on a building.
Right. With all state money, there's no town allocation.
Yeah, but
There's
it's
no
still
match,
tax
there's
money,
no-
it's still.
I understand, but there's.
And it's taking $250,000 that's
Out of our
going to
ability
the
to do a
private
road.
developer that could go to a road, a bridge, another piece of public property. So, the board used to approve the steep grants before they went in. I think we should probably know what the steep grants are before they go
Okay.
in the future. I know we only get them once a year, but the board used to approve those.
And that's not required through the STEEP program, but in the future, I'm happy to do that.
Well, it's not required by the steep program, but the Board of Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen
has
agreed to.
always been part of a steep, at least all the length of time that, I've known it, we've always been involved in the decision on the
It's
steep
32
grant.
Lake Street.
Well, I don't think that there was a conversation, and this is also my fault, but I don't believe this group had a conversation with me about the Elm Street project that was also approved for STEEP last year, $500,000. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I took this opportunity to move forward in the same way that we did in a prior
Meaning-
year.
I don't
But-
remember a steep grant for 500,000 for 44 Elm Street.
Right, and we had it approved, but we had it approved at the state level. I don't believe I actually came to you for a
No,
resolution.
you never told us about it.
Did we get the money for that,
We did.
for 44 Elm?
No, sorry, this is for Elm Street repaving.
Oh, repaving,
Oh,
yeah,
well, yeah, that's a road.
But the difference
Yeah.
between these two is, one is town-owned, and now this is private-owned.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
There's a big difference now between.
never done private-owned
Between supporting a private investor with public money
Sure.
and what else, what are the contracts around that? What is the town, gonna, and it depends really what happens to that building in terms of when you talk about economic growth, what is gonna come from that building? Because we don't know what's even going in the building.
Okay, understood. I'm happy to walk through the application with both of you, and also it will be up to the Board
No,
of
there should
Selectmen to
be, there should
accept
be an
it.
outline of
Down the
what
line.
is happening on that property. It's a project
Yep,
now that.
I understand.
that
And
we're
the state
involved.
will require it before they approve anything, and
I
they
know,
will
but
require.
we require it, is what I'm saying. We should have that information.
And we can in the future, and I apologize it didn't happen this time around. But moving forward, I'd be happy to walk through the application with any of you to see the components of it. And I will make sure, of course, A, you have to approve it before it's accepted by the town, even if an award's made. And B, contracts would also have to be drawn up between the state and the private partner, never mind the state and us, before we move forward, which would need your authorization. So there's a check and a balance here. I apologize, it's a little bit further down the road than you might have expected, but I think we're in a good spot to support something or to move forward with this application in support of a possible project. And I understand there might be question marks around it, but to get our questions answered before any final decisions are made.
Right, because it also points to the historic district, because one of the reasons we're doing the historic district is so that building can get historic credits, which gets more, more money, public money,
Right.
or less public taxes for that building. So we're investing quite a bit of public money into a building that is owned by an investor. So I think what we're asking is that we want to know, where's the investment going, what are the contracts, what does the town get back?
I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but the primary driver behind almost every decision that the board has made for several years now has been grow the grand list. And the way that you grow the grand list from the public's,
We're not denying that.
hold on, but from the public's perspective, the only way that we have an opportunity to try and move forward is to build relationships, which we've been really working on through with town staff and the community at large, and to take private funds and invest in wise ways. I think that the preservation of that building is a wise decision. I defer to the Board of Selectmen to make a final decision on that when we come to a possible award. And I apologize, and we'll make sure that you have more of a say up front in the future. But I hope you see that all of the efforts that we put forward when it comes to grants is to grow the grand list, drive economic development. It's the same narrative that we've been saying up here for years, and it's the same narrative I hope that we'll have going forward.
Other questions?
Yeah, I have others. That was just one of them. So, on the first-time home buyer seminar
Yep.
that I asked you about last time, so will there be a state person from that knows all of the state assistance programs there? I mean, I know the realtors will be there and they're aware of some things, and then I don't know what staff you have working on this. I'm assuming social
Katie'ville.
Services.
Yep.
Have we invited a state person to Zoom in that works with the CHFA programs or any of those other first-time home buyer ones?
Happy to do it. When I had a conversation with the mortgage broker, they suggested to me that they were pretty familiar with the various programs offered, but let me ask in more specific terms if they can answer questions around that or if we should have a state person brought in.
The other thing is in the nipper bottle.
Yep.
I know that you're formulating ideas. Please don't forget about the catch basin hoods.
Nope, will not.
In your one.
Sorry, I was trying to highlight the new idea that was brought forward for.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen our old idea in writing yet, so.
Okay.
So we're just checking. And then, one of the things that you just brought up about driving economic development, I think for your town manager's report, it would be good if you had a section about economic development on it.
I do from time to time. It's just a question of
No, I would
what's
like to
driving
see it there like all the time.
Okay.
You know,
It was there at the last meeting. I'll make sure it's at the next.
yeah, so that it's an actual economic development piece. And then I wanted to bring up the transit district. When we did the budget, remember we got the big bill from the transit district? And when we had the big bill from them, it went from like, what, $5,700, $5,900 to $59,000, $69,000? So we had a meeting, we finally got a meeting, we filled you all in about a little while ago. And then at that meeting, we asked for more data. And then last week, we got some more data from the transit district. Part of that data, you know, Todd got it, I got it. I sent it out to the other selectmen because I don't think they were on the list, and I don't know if anybody else forwarded it to them. But I think it's important that we maybe do a little task force or a small committee or something to take a look at the transit district, now that we're spending a significant amount of taxpayer dollars on it. And I know our taxpayer dollars are only 17% of the cost of this transit bus. But I have a couple questions, Josh, I'd like you to ask them about. Because after going through the data, the college route that they go on, the college put into a place with the transit district, I think he said 2 years ago, about a college route. It's Route 1B. It runs between 2:10 in the afternoon to 10:05 p.m. The interesting thing about the college route is, do we pay for it all? Is this split between Torrington and Winston, or is this a Winston-only payment of 17%? The reason I ask that is because the municipal parking lot that the buses leave from every day, including our own route in Winston, is from the Torrington municipal parking lot. So they go back and forth to the municipal Torrington parking lot 6 times during the day, well, the afternoon from 2:10 to 10:05. They're leaving the municipal parking lot in Torrington to come to the college. So if we're transporting people in Winsted, we're transporting them from the part of the college on the green to the Joyner Center. You know, so we're not transporting anybody in Winsted from like Spencer Hill this in the afternoons to the community college or the Joyner Center, but these are all leaving from the Torrington municipal lot. So is this a split cost to us and Torrington? And then the other thing I think we want to look at is they gave us these charts. We asked them to chart, because they have total ridership. And they didn't have what are the ridership during the times during the day. So we asked them to give us the chart during the day who got on the bus. And so they charted who got on it during the day, and they gave us 5 charts, one for each day of the week. And then I put it in a chart today to look at what does it look like during the entire week of what they gave us. So they have a stop at McRain's, and that stop was only used once. They have a stop at Stop and Shop, and that was only used by 2 people for a whole week. Spencer Hill, they have a stop, and that was only used by 4 people the entire week. So it seems that, and even the college stops during the day, there was only 2, 4, 6, 9 people that was on that bus to the college. Most of the ridership is from the municipal lot in Torrington again, up to the Winstead, and then it finishes at the Torrington Municipal Lot. It also goes to the Torrington Post Office area. So I'm curious as to when they get on the bus at the municipal lot and they come up this way, or looks like maybe some of them are getting off at the Torrington Post Office. And this is our route, I believe it's Route 1 Winstead. So this is what we pay 17% of. So if they're coming up, are they going to a job? Where are they coming from, or where are they going to? So I think we need to ask some of those questions. But I also think we need to have this small group, and I think we mentioned it in our meetings before when Todd was there and you were there with the transit people, is asking them, we're asking ourselves in terms of the costs that we have, is there a more cost-efficient way to do this and serve our residents here? Are they riding these buses to jobs in Torrington? You know, when they get on up here, are they going to a job in Torrington and coming back? Like, where are we, who is going where? Because the ridership even doesn't appear to be that great a ridership on a daily basis going back and forth through town and to Torrington over those 5 times. So I was wondering if we could maybe put that together. And then we also got the salaries of everybody and the total ridership, which after people had to stop paying for, dropped in half. It went from like 1,600 in March, 1,400 in December to 819 in April, 839 in May, 853 in June. And this is amongst, they also have dial-a-ride, but these are the actual buses that go back and forth. And we have senior vans that go back and forth. So maybe we could take a look at that and see if we can't come up with some cost efficiencies in that. Okay, and then, so that's my transit. And then I'll save this for later. Thank you.
Andy, on the ridership for the college, is that dated, or is that a 12-month period? Is it college time? I'm just curious on how those numbers showed during is it during semester break? What's the?
Well, this was during August, so we don't know for the within town. This is the it's an in-town bus, but it's not just an in-town bus. It goes to Torrington 5 times a day and comes back. And then the college bus, I'm assuming the college bus runs during the semesters and doesn't run in the summer. This other one, Route 1B, I'm assuming it only runs during the semester. But again, it's every time it runs, it's running to Torrington and back, Torrington and back, Torrington and back. So like I said, are we having jobs? The college, how many are we transporting people in Winstead to get to the community college at night, or is this transporting people from Torrington to get to the community college at night? We
I
have
don't
no
hear
way to
any
know.
stops on downtown at all either.
Right, so the 1B college stop is the municipal parking lot in Torrington, the Green, and the Joyner Center up by Route 8.
Right.
And it's 210, 420, 620, 720, 820, 930, 1025, are all in Torrington. And then the community college spots are only 5 minutes between them, between the Green and Joyner. So when we learned in the meeting about the costs and who was paying the costs and what the cost would be going forward and who created the route, who okayed the route, well, the people on the board at the transit district did, but there was no communication with the town manager's office. So we think we have that corrected for the future. But now looking at our routes, is it and they said they were willing to look at routes and to see if we wanted to change and what we wanted to do. There is something on their website about equity transportation and some other things like that, so you have to watch for that. But that's why I suggested be a small committee to look at what the ridership is. Is it more, can we be more efficient? The senior center is running these buses, and they have buses. Nobody has, like, for these big routes between the places we're going, we have few ridership, but a large diesel bus. Is there a better way to transport? And they said they won't be able to get those vans or anything until later on, you know, a few years out. So I think because the economic, the taxpayer money drove so high this current budget, and we had troubles within our budget, that I think we really should look at this.
So you're just suggesting a committee to be more interactive with the transit district?
No, not to be more interactive with it, but to actually look at what our transportation needs are in town. What are the actual transportation needs in town? Who are we transporting?
But they used to stop at Frontier, and now they don't.
Yeah. So are we transporting people that, would we be better off giving everybody a voucher for Uber? Would we be better off putting people on expanding our senior transportation and pick up the people in town that are going back and forth here? I mean, how many are we bringing? Are we bringing Winston residents to work in Torrington, or Torrington people coming up here to work? I mean, we don't know.
Or do we let people know that there's a dedicated stop at Stop and Shop so they can get on it somewhere to get there?
So I think it's just, I think it really, the more I looked at the data and the more I listened to the meeting, and the more we got that big chunk of money that we needed to put into our budget. Because if you take that and the ambulance and that one other, what was the other thing? That was our
Dispatch.
Dispatch, it was our increase. It was the increase on the town side, the entire increase on the town side. So it did have an effect because we have current programs and everything like that. So I think that the data begs the question for me about, let's get a better handle on it.
Other questions, Josh? I just had two.
Just a statement, Josh. Hey, one thing you should put on your upcoming events and keep that public is this get to know your town government Wednesdays. I mean, there's what, 6 of them?
It's true. Actually, I should make a pitch for that right now. Thank you for bringing it up. The Citizens Academy is a register-only event. There will be 9 total sessions. The last one is more of a formality. You will graduate from the academy if you complete the course. There are currently 25, well, we have a few seats that have been filled now, but there are a total of 25 seats that are available. Please register on the town's website. I will absolutely make sure that gets highlighted better the next time around. You have until September, I believe, 12th to sign up. So you still have a number of weeks. And if you have any questions about it, it's a program that's going to allow you to get to know the town really in a hands-on way. So you're going to get to go down to the water and sewer plants. You're going to get to go down into the police station, learn more about the various departments that we have from the individuals who are running them, seeing the equipment that's used, seeing the technology that's used, and getting a better understanding of what the day-to-day operations look like. So it's a tried and true type of program that has been run in other municipalities across Connecticut. I'm really thankful to the staff for stepping up and being willing to run these sessions on a 2-hour basis once a week for 9 weeks. And I think it's going to be a great educational opportunity. So thank you for highlighting that. It should have been present in my report.
Well, I know it's been on the website enough times, but I think something new like that definitely needs to get out as much as possible before you, like, I don't know how many people have already registered out of 25. You got 5. And
so far, we've got 8.
8,
Yep.
okay. So I'm just encouraging you to put it out there even more if this is going to happen. The one thing I did not see, and help me if I'm, just because I didn't read it correctly, there's 9 weeks, 8 weeks?
There are 8 weeks of classes, so to speak, so there'll be each a 2-hour session focused on a different part of the town's operations.
And can I attend one and not the other?
It's doable, but at the end, anybody who attends at least 7 out of those 8 courses will receive a certificate stating that they've completed the course and so forth. it's possible that we will reach the 25 individuals. If we end up not reaching that 25 cap, and we have an opportunity to add in some individuals who just want to come for a session or two, that's fine. If we are full up on people who want to attend every course, they will have priority over somebody who just wants to stop in. We will also set up appointments on a as-needed basis if somebody that you know wants to tour a specific facility or talk to a certain person.
Well, I'm just wondering, on a particular Wednesday, would you be saying, okay, today we're going to the police department, or
Yep.
we're going to the water department, or we're going to, so that an agenda of what is being discussed is publicly available?
It's a great question. There is a page on the website. If you go into the most recent announcement about the Citizens Academy on the website, there's a link to get an info page, specifically just about Citizens Academy, where the schedule is laid out. So you'll get to see each department.
I did not see that link, I'm sorry.
No problem. But you'll get to know each department that's going to be featured on each day. If you have somebody who's interested in one day over another, connect them with me. I'll make sure that they're able to attend on a one-off basis.
Thank you.
No problem.
That's what I had for you, the Citizens Academy.
Thank
right
you.
there. The other question I have, the nipper bottle deposit,
Yep,
I believe in the near future, the bottle tax is going up to 10 cents.
I think so.
Do you know if that's going to be applied to the nippers as well, or will that stay at 5, or do you not know?
I have no idea. I will
Okay.
find out.
You can't turn in nippers. You can't turn them in.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, the 10 cents applies to everything, but not necessarily the nipper bottle.
Yeah, but in the state, they may charge that
Are
on the
nipper
nippers as
bottles
well.
10 cents now?
No.
They're 5.
They're 5.
Oh, they are.
So, Todd, since you're involved in that stuff, you know, the jugs, the half-gallon juice jugs that you get, you're now having to pay a deposit on those. But no machine takes it back. What do we do with those? To get reimbursed that nickel or dime or whatever it's gonna be?
Write your
Take it to
state legislature,
Massachusetts.
Yeah, there
state
was,
representative.
there was no plan for accepting them as a recycle, was there?
State rep.
That is correct.
So, just bring them back, huh?
5 cents.
All right.
No other questions for Josh? Item number 8, Finance Director.
It would go to 10 cents, at least the article in the Hartford Current.
We lost our little thing on here.
Yeah, we probably should
Little
find a
cushion.
new one.
It's probably better without it. Good evening. We are a whole 1 month into the new year, which is 8% of the fiscal year. Our property, and that's why we need that. Our property tax and motor vehicle tax bills were sent out for August 1st. The last day to pay without penalty is September 1st, and I want to thank all of our residents who have already paid their bills. I just want to give a very special thank you to our tax collector's office, to Ashley and to Pam, to our assessor's office, to Linda and Becky, and to the Public Works admin staff, to Rhonda and Heather, for all of their hard work to get our annual tax bills and our quarterly utility bills issued. They have been working diligently, particularly Ashley and Rhonda, have been working with our tax service, QDS, to resolve some of the ongoing issues and items that have come up since our conversion. We did have a meeting with them last week, and they are working with our provider on some of the bugs that we're still seeing. Our current revenues year-to-date, as you would expect, are pretty low for the month of July because the tax bills did not go out, so our total property taxes were only $1,574,000, which was 5.92% of the budget. That's in comparison to $12,504,000 in the prior year, which was 49% of the budget. Our total revenues, $1,982,000, which is 5% of the budget, compared to $12,665,000, which was 35.13% of the budget. Our expenditures year-to-date are $2,962,000, which is 15.45% of the budget, and that's compared to $2,275,000, which was 6.31% of the budget. Some of that differential where you're seeing such a larger percentage, that's a timing issue for the most part, in that we've had some payments that we paid the annual payments up front that were paid this year that weren't paid at the same time last year. Our municipal aid received in the month of July, town aid of $147,829, and judicial payments of $2,895. I do not have updated cash flow numbers for you for the month of July. I will get those when Cindy has those all completed. But as of the end of June, we were at $15,937,11. Of that, $15,148,000 of that was invested. $1,993,000 in the Northwest Community Sweep account, $2.3 million in STIF, and $10.8 million in the Northwest Communities money market account. And you will notice if you look at our July report, just the month of July investment income, we've already hit our yearly target. July capital expenditures, we only had $25,247 that we paid out for annual road maintenance, and we paid $114,000 to the Board of Education towards the Gilbert School roof replacement. Questions?
The 90,000 you have for sale of town-owned foreclosed property, what is that property?
Front Street.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Made sure to look that up. I did note that, I think in what I had sent over, that some of the amounts that you see in the July report, they look a little funky because we have some corrections to do on the encumbrances that we put out there. We have some reclasses of expenditures because of the shift of all the accounts. I have to move some of the items around to make sure they're in the new accounts where they belong. And most of those corrections were not done as of July 31st. You'll see them come the end of August in the August report.
Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have a question. The Board of Ed just got some COVID money from the state for back in, they didn't count all the enrollment and everything. Is that held like in our investment accounts, or the board has their own separate bank account? How are those held?
The 600,000?
I do not know the answer to that, on where that would be held.
Because that money's going back.
Money comes, I know that, and Cindy manages all the cash flow that goes back and forth. I know, cash comes into some cash comes into our accounts, and then we fund the Board of Ed, and then the Board of Ed then pays us back for the amount of money that gets paid out for the check runs.
Right. So I just was curious because it is a large amount of money.
Yeah. For specifics, I would have to ask Cindy exactly where she puts that.
Because it might be good that if it was invested,
Yeah.
because I know they were using some of it to offset some of the budget reductions and some of the things that they had to change. So I was just curious, because I believe the money's going to them, but isn't all our money in like the same banks?
Yes, it is. Cindy manages it all, and she manages it very well.
Other questions?
Yeah, the QDS tax service, that software, is it?
Yes.
How long have we been using that?
For a year.
Okay, and is that the same software that's being used in the tax offices and the assessor?
Yes.
Okay. Say there's still some bugs in it, anything significant?
No, I think it's more, it's processing, it's report capabilities, making sure that we can get the data out of the system that we have, and when they load the bills, sometimes there's some transition issues that are not taking place, that, we might lose a code that doesn't come off. We might have some spacing issues that are coming across from the assessor's office that sometimes causes some issues in terms of making sure the bills have the dollar, that aren't zero bills. So Ashley and Rhonda are phenomenal with reviewing and making sure that what is going out, and they are in constant communication with QDS and with their staff to make sure that they, and what they need in terms of reporting, and what we need and what I need in terms of reporting.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, Anne Marie.
Yes, sir.
I know Candy brought this up regarding the transit district and $64,744. How often do we pay that? Is it quarterly, monthly? Do you know how that bill is paid?
Yeah, yes, quarterly or monthly. I'm not sure. If I'd have to look at the line item, and I could tell you. Some things we pay once a year, some things we pay quarterly, some things we pay monthly. I'm not sure what the list of specifics are. One of the items I did want to mention, you had mentioned the senior buses. There are specific rules if we received money from the state of Connecticut to purchase our buses that there are certain rules for ridership. So we may not be able to use that as a supplemental ridership because there is reporting that has to go to the state.
I didn't know we were already paying the transit district because during the budget season, we were holding it and we approved it.
Yeah, nothing has been paid
And
yet.
we approved
Outstanding
it.
encumbrance is the same as the
Right.
budget. I was just wondering when that next bill is coming in.
Well, I thought we were having everything on hold until we had a conversation with them.
Did we make that official?
Well, let me know so that we know not to pay. Well, I think Josh typically signs off
Yeah, I
on
haven't seen a bill
those
for it.
payments anyway.
So any bill that comes in from the transit, just hold it until we have
Do we
further
need to vote
discussion
on
on it?
that?
Is that what you're saying?
Do we need to vote on that, since there's been no instruction, you know?
I can
other-
take this as instruction if there are no objections.
Well, I just think there's a lot of questions still to be answered before we start paying them. And during the budget season, we said we would get all our questions answered before we paid them.
Yeah, I mean, we
That's
can
why
certainly hold any bills and, you know, if they were to question that we haven't paid the bills, that, you know, that we understand that the Board of Selectmen has met with the Transit Authority and is, you know, working through
Yeah,
some
it's
questions.
an approved item in our budget, and I'm just
Well,
curious.
we carried it. I wanted to take it out, but we carried it in case we get to the end and we had to pay it. So that was my understanding of it. My understanding was, oh yeah, let's just go pay them the 69 and we just run the buses the way they are, without knowing exactly what's happening with them. Because I think we're supposed to know what's happening.
Well, I don't know what the contract calls. If the contract says we must pay by a certain date after billing,
But that's the interesting thing, is we don't have a contract with them. We don't have a policy or an agreement with them in terms of how the routes are made, how things happen, when things get paid, because they're turning over and creating the whole new system of accounts for themselves. And when we met, we asked for those types of policies, right? We did do that, right?
Yes.
We asked for, you know, contracts that we're supposed to have if we're gonna be paid, you know, be paying them 10 times what we were paying them. So we asked for that, but I haven't seen one.
so we definitely should withhold what you're saying, and what I'm hearing is the better way to go about withhold any of that payment until we have some better understanding of what's going on.
Well, I would hope that there would be an agreement or a contract coming forward that specifies what happens. But again, we just got some information late last week about the ridership, so, and then I asked a couple more questions now, so I'm assuming we're gonna.
Did you ask him last week about a contract?
Yeah, when we met, it was like, because one thing, the conversation started and one thing led to the next. Because based on what they said, and then we asked questions based on what they said. Because when you're paying, we paid 5,700 or 5,900 or whatever the old number was. You know, so my comment to them was, when you go from a $5,700 bill.
To a 67,000.
Yeah, it's different because the transit district, you know, had gotten state funding or wherever they were getting their funding for. Basically, what they were doing is not fixing the buses. And so now they're fixing the buses. Now they're doing more maintenance than they did before. And then the staff costs, if you look at them, are probably, I don't know what they were before, but they have $300,000 worth of staff costs, plus the drivers. So I think the way they've revamped it has caused.
Well,
them
I
to- so-
think that we should just make sure that they have direction not to pay that bill if it comes in until we agree upon it's ready to go. Right? Is that's where you're heading with that same kind of comment?
Well, it's his job to do that, so.
I will look for the
I
bill.
I can't like make the decision.
Well,
so.
we can give direction.
And we're Board of
Don't pay the
Finance.
bill.
We can tell them.
Oh, we could? All right, well.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 9, correspondence. Anyone
Thank
have
you,
anything?
Emery.
No correspondence. Item number 10, boards and commissions. Steve?
Okay, thank you, Todd. Tonight, we'll place in nomination John Noon for a position on the Soldiers Monument Commission. The term would be from June, the term would end in June of 2027. And we'll take action on that nomination at our next meeting. We'll also place in nomination for appointment to the Soldiers Monument Commission this evening, Esther Dew, who would replace Thomas Sullivan, and the term would expire in June of 2027. So I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Steve. Discussion. Thank you, Jack. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Unanimous?
And we'll recognize and thank Brian Shaughnessy for his service as a member of the Recreation Board. He's no longer able to serve on that board, and so that would be another vacancy there. That would be the report, Todd.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for your service, Brian. Moving on to item number 11, unfinished business. Consider and possibly act on the issuance of a driveway permit at 543 East Wakefield Boulevard.
Once again, just noting I'm recusing from this agenda item.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
David Torrey, appearing for Mr. and Mrs. Cirque. All right. Again, just to bring us again up to date, we are here because Mr. Cirque has asked for the board to make a determination whether or not the driveway ordinance applies to the work that was done on his property. Just hold on a moment. Nope, sorry, wrong slide.
Nope. Good catch. Good reflex.
Okay. As you can see here, this is what the premises looked like when he purchased the property. It was basically a gravel driveway all the way from property line to property line. He removed significant portions, or he didn't remove anything. What he did was he planted sod over the portions of the driveway on either side, and he resurfaced the center part. In the process of doing that, and also with some of the work in the back, he reduced the amount of pervious or impervious surfaces on his property by approximately 33%. Now, last time, Mr. Rawlings implied that because the driveway changed in look or appearance, that must be a reconstruction, right? And that is clearly not what reconstruction means. If you reside your house, you can completely change the look of your house, but your house has not been reconstructed, and it doesn't require you to update all of the electrical or fire prevention facilities just because you put siding on your house. What he did here is he put a new surface on top of an existing driveway that pre-existed the ordinance by decades. And it is our position that just resurfacing a driveway is not reconstructing the driveway. And we've never seen the town interpreted that way before the Cirques, and they certainly haven't interpreted that way or tried to enforce it with anybody, with everybody after the Cirques did. The enforcement of this is simply arbitrary and capricious. If you are to make a determination that just putting a new surface on a driveway is reconstruction, the town has never enforced that uniformly until until the Cirques came along. And the ordinance has been in place since, I believe, 1986. It is our position that he does not fall within the definition of resurfacing more than 50% of the length of the driveway. Mr. Rawlings has admitted that he was not there during the construction or the resurfacing of the driveway or the construction of the house. You have in your files 2 affidavits, one from the driveway contractor and one from the excavator who did all excavation on this property. And both of them have signed affidavits saying that they did not reconstruct the driveway. With those as the facts, I believe that it is clear that Mr. Cirque did not reconstruct his driveway within the meaning of the ordinance, and therefore he does not need to comply with the ordinance as he has not reconstructed his driveway. And now I will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Does the board have any questions?
Just when I was up there, the driveway comes down and opens as an A. If you could see from your Exhibit 5 there, it opens wider.
It's like an hourglass, if you will.
Yeah.
It wasn't that way before.
No, it was property line to property line. It was a rectangle, and he just simply put sod over the sides and he kept the existing driveway, but only a portion of it, that hourglass-shaped driveway. So he did not reconstruct anything anywhere. He just
The width of the driveway is the exact same as it was before?
All he did was he put sod on the sides, and he put asphalt in the middle, on top of the existing driveway.
So I went up this afternoon and I had a look, and then I've looked over the affidavits. So I'm going to make a recommendation to the board. If they agree with me, they can vote that way. First, I think that the driveway was reconstructed just by item number 6 on the affidavit of Mr. Sokolow. I also removed portions of the previously existing gravel driveway, installed new turf and decorative boulders on either side of the remaining driveway. So that, I believe, constitutes reconstruction. I believe that the Cirque should have sought a permit back in 2019. So I think that we do need to issue a variance, and I believe that the board should grant a variance for the property's driveway with no conditions. Anyone else on the board?
That sounds reasonable, Todd. Sounds reasonable.
Can I have a motion for that?
How would you like that motion to read?
Do we want to give
That
Jim,
would,
Kevin the chance to weigh in too?
Okay, Jim, Kevin? Do you have any input, additional input?
My input is only here how to run the show, not what you should decide. So,
Is that motion within our,
I'm sorry.
is that motion within our
Yes.
guidance? Okay. Jim, anything?
Sure. Correct, you're here to determine if an ordinance applies. He's right about that. Todd, you're right about, removing the driveway, could easily be considered reconstruction. Twisted words pretty eloquently. I didn't state that because the look and appearance change makes it need a permit. I was saying that you can tell by looking at it that it was reconstructed, replaced, new. His analogy of siding, you're right, it doesn't mean you have to upgrade everything, but you still need to get a permit, just like you would for a driveway. He is correct. Consistent enforcement has been very difficult on driveways. A lot of driveways go in without permits. The driveway ordinance has very very weak enforcement mechanisms to it. When I come across a driveway permit such as this, where I'm asked to sign off on a certificate of occupancy when I realize that it doesn't have a driveway permit and the driveway doesn't meet the ordinance, I don't sign off on it, which is the case here, which is why we're here. He wants a certificate of occupancy, and the driveway doesn't meet the ordinance. So, I see three reasons for that. It's too steep in the first 40 feet as measured from the center line of the road. It exceeds the maximum of 14%. And then, whether you consider a new or an existing driveway, he's maintained a condition where the water is coming out into the road. I think that's number item 6 in the driveway ordinance. So for all those reasons, I think it needs a permit, and it needs to have a condition of addressing the driveway drainage problem, which was presented to me by their contractor saying, this is what we want to do. I said, okay, come to me with a plan. I'm still waiting for that plan. So they also have a driveway permit that was issued in 2019. So they must have believed they needed one at the time. So I think the town has gone as far as they could by saying okay to the steepness, as long as they fix the drainage problem that they did not replace, they didn't repair, they maintained it in a less than adequate position. That's my understanding of the situation based on my years as a contractor and as 8 years public works director that's dealing with this ordinance, as poorly written as it is. I don't need to say much more. I've said it, I don't know how many times. I think it's clear as day that they just don't want to go through the work of doing what they intended to do right from the start. Why they didn't follow through, I can't say, but here we are. So the absolute easiest thing in the world would be to just give them what they want. No one wants to be here. You guys are particularly unsuited for making these land use decisions. It's just not your forte, which is again why we're moving this away from the Board of Selectmen to a land use board. So, but I don't think it's the right thing. But I've stated as many facts as I can. I clearly disagree with the applicant and their position, but it is what it is.
Thank you, Jim. Any other comments from the board?
Jim, in our packet from April 17th, there's a driveway permit inspection checklist. It's not dated, it's not signed. Is this your permit inspection that you did on this property?
May I come up with that?
Sure.
See if, it might be an early draft.
Well, that was sent to the circuits.
Sorry, a letter
This
from
check-
you,
this
mean?
checklist.
You submitted it.
No, I don't recall submitting this checklist.
Oh, okay.
Maybe, I don't recall submitting it. It may be in the package, because it does exist.
Okay.
But it was sent to the circuits by Mr. Rollins. I don't know whether it was a checklist that he had in existence, or whether it's something that he prepared just for the circuits.
No, there is a
I
checklist.
think
that
you have a
exists.
black and white copy. That's the color copy. That's why I was wondering if it was the
Yeah,
most recent draft.
okay.
Yeah, it's highlighted.
Okay. But it's not dated,
It's not.
on the back, the second, the sign,
Yeah, no, mine's
it's
not.
nothing on the side. So I didn't even know what it was. So when was this checklist done? In 2019?
December 11th, 2019. I want to say it was like the day of or after I got the permit was dated.
permit application was dated per your letter, Jim, October 22nd, 2019.
So, again, at 10?
October 22nd.
October?
22nd.
Okay.
If I could just address a couple things. The Cirques submitted the application because they were directed to by Ben Columby. They did not believe that it required a permit, but they were directed to, so they did. With respect to the water discharge, the contractor didn't say that the water discharge was coming from the driveway. He said the water discharge was coming from the property. And that water discharge was addressed at the inland wetlands meeting on November 20th. And Mr. Rawlings, although Mr. Rawlings did not attend that meeting, he did send a letter in opposition to that meeting, which was read and included in the minutes. So the Inland Wetlands, and Watercourses Commission considered all of Mr. Rawlings' objections to the permit, and yet they approved the permit unanimously. So in my opinion, all water issues have been resolved by the Inland Wetlands Commission, and I have photographic proof that the driveway is not putting water onto the street. It's the natural water flow off of the mountain there that puts water on the street.
Coming through the driveway.
No, not coming through the driveway.
From the back.
But it has to come.
It's coming back.
These are two photographs from very heavy rain event days. This was approximately 3 inches of rain over the course of a day, and this was the day when we got 9 inches of rain in a half an hour. And this was taken, both of these were taken within 2 hours of the rain stopping. All you see here is there is dampness down at the bottom and up on the top because of the way the sun hits it, but a driveway will run water off of it. Every driveway runs water off of it. There's nothing unusual about this driveway that adds more water onto the road than any driveway that has a downward slope to the road.
I noticed a storm drain on the property at 545 East Wakefield.
Just up a little bit.
I don't know, is it south?
Yes.
Okay, was that a town storm drain?
There is a town storm drain to the south of this property, which was enhanced and improved by the development of that parcel.
Okay, because there was a hose coming from that property into the storm drain. But that storm drain was meant for all the water flowing down from the hill and from the property,
Yeah.
all the properties.
Yeah, there's also one to the north, that's a couple of, maybe one or two lots further north, that exist for essentially the same reasons.
So the water that comes down off this property should go into the road and flow down into the storm drain at 545? It seemed that way.
I don't know if the grades work in order for it to get there by gravity.
This is Mr. Cirques' property here, okay? And you can't see his property, but you can see the house next to it to the north. Directly below that property on the other side, approximately here, is where that storm drain is to the north. Now, this is the rock ravine that's between Mr. Cirques' property and the property to the south. And this is where most of the water comes down, and there's actually, most of it gets absorbed into the ground as it's coming down, or it comes into there's a small pipe here on the property to the south of him. There is a storm drain, okay, if you can see it here, This is where, this is the bottom of the ravine right here. I'm sorry, right here, in between this truck and Mr. Cirke's driveway. There's the ravine comes here. On the other side of this house is another storm drain. And the high water mark, or the high landmark, is right in the middle of this property's driveway. The stuff that is to the north of it flows in front of the Cirke's property, in front of the neighbor's property, to the storm drain to the north corner of his property, and the water that is right at where that truck is flows to the south to the storm drain that's on the that's in front of the newly developed house on the other side, which is actually, I believe, this one. This is the newly developed house right there. The other house is not in the frame.
So, Jim, would you say the stormwater is one thing, there's no remedy in terms of slope, is that correct?
Well, I'm gonna back up just a little bit to answer your question. You know, the applicant is trying to talk about the wetlands permits that they have, okay, which, again, they got that after the fact, when they got, you know, brought in for it, so, great, they got it. But that's different than a driveway application. You know, he wants to try to make it look like that, 'cause he's got a permit, right? I probably want to do the same thing, don't know if I would, but I want to. So the wetlands permit is one thing. Had the driveway been permitted, they would have done some. And again, this is, keep in mind, this is what they proposed to me at the very beginning, before the driveway was built. So I had it in my head that they would be doing what they intended to do. Aside from that, the driveway, even if, which I do not believe is true, they only put asphalt on top of what was there, then that driveway is now 2.5 inches higher than it was before, which pushed the water out further into the road, which causes freezing and ice, which is what this is really all about. So you can't construct or maintain a driveway that, you know, causes this water to be out in the road. It was an existing problem, which is why they came to me at the beginning and said, hey, there's a wet spot here, we want to take care of this. What do you want done? I said, well, you guys present the plan, I'll review it, which is exactly what it says in the ordinance, is what we're supposed to do, and we'll work together and figure this out. They never came to me with that. So here we are, we built this driveway. Had they even put in a little bit of a swale area so that the water could run across the front of his driveway and down the side of the road, rather than pushing out, that would have been something. Or he could have put a catch basin in a culvert, or he could have run across the road with it. Could have done a lot of different things. He could have gone north, he could have gone south, he could have gone, I guess it would be west. Could have done it subsurface, he could have done it on the surface. He chose to do none. So now the town is gonna, you know, keep spending resources to break up that ice while we, you know, could be doing other things. But again, that's the crux of my argument. I can't possibly fathom that they didn't need a permit and that they shouldn't be held to the standards of the ordinance, which includes the drainage. So I don't really have much more to say.
Before the Shorkeys did anything, there was a stream running right down their driveway into the road. They've corrected that. They've diverted the water. They've put in soil to absorb the water. They put in a dry well to absorb water. Right? This, all they did was they resurfaced this area here. Right? The water that Mr. Rollins is talking about is the runoff from the mountain, which is not his jurisdiction. That's the jurisdiction of the Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Commission. My clients went there, they got a permit. I don't care whether they came in initially or whether they came in late, the permit was issued. It was issued unanimously. Mr. Rawlings has no say over how the Inland Wetlands Commission grants its permits. He gave them his input, they considered it, and they granted the permit unanimously. The water issues are not Mr. Rawlings' issue. Right? Yes, the driveway has 2 more inches on top of it, but it didn't change the grade. It's still 14 degrees straight up, okay? You add 2 inches all the way along the top, you're not changing the grade. This, I can't emphasize enough that if the town seeks to impose additional conditions on the granting of a variance, my client will not accept it. Now, you're free to do what you wish to do, and we're free to do what we wish to do. And I've laid this out as clearly as I possibly can.
May I speak?
Yes.
A lot of this time goes on. We seek help very early on in this project, because this is a watershed behind us, 20 acres. It comes down in the middle of our project, and we knew that we couldn't handle it all. So Mr. Rollins was asked by my contractor to come down before we did any work at all and help us come up with a plan. We can't change the fact that the water's gonna come down that hill and we can't stop it. We gotta just deal with it when it gets there. The water he is talking about specifically is coming from the property south of us, not from that driveway. And he knows it, because my contractor pointed it out to him many times, that the water that's coming off of this mountain is coming down a ravine that belonged to my neighbor, and that water is coming down. It's pitched wrong. It's supposed to go both ways in the middle of my driveway, and instead, it's so shallow, it puddles. So, no matter what you do, even if you put a culvert here, you're not gonna be able to take on that water. It's still gonna go across the road. That road is just designed for it. It's not his fault. He inherited a lot of things just like I did. So the water that he's talking about that's been puddling here before I owned it is something we have to deal with. And we managed it. There's no erosion. Everything is working fine. It was all engineered by Mike Sherman. Mike Sherman is the civil engineer. He used to work up for Laurel. And he designed all of the drainage that was used for this. So no, we don't have the water coming down the middle of the driveway anymore. It's coming down off to the side into a dry well. And the other is a ravine that comes to the north of us. No, the south of us. So that water, so we're not generating any water from the driveway. So I don't even know why the driveway is such a big problem as far as what we did. We can't redesign the road. We're not gonna rebuild a road for him. If he has a problem with the town, he's gotta take care of it on his own. We've done everything we can to mediate any water that is lining up in the middle of our driveway and our property.
Can I ask where ice builds up in the winter?
Right here.
Randy, look where the abrasion is on the upper right.
Right here?
That's where it is.
That's where it is here.
And that is not your property, that's the property to the south?
It's hard to tell with this picture, but right here is my property line.
It goes from the middle of his property to the middle of his driveway, roughly.
I'm trying to find a better picture for you.
You can see it. This is north view, and this is the south view. This is the water, again, prior to his construction, the water pooling up here and going all the way past his driveway and well out into the road. All right. This is where the problem largely is. It starts on the property to the south back here and extends all the way down here. Because it's so shallow, it just stops. It just puddles here. It just you know.
And that's exactly the right thing to know.
Look at it. That's where it's puddling, right? Because the road is the way the road is constructed. The driveway isn't pushing all this water here. It's coming off of the mountain and coming in up here.
A swale or a ravine just before the driveway is not gonna stop the water from puddling. Because that water's coming from up above, south of us.
If the biggest objective of this board is to grow the tax base, let's make it easy for people to do property improvements. Let's not give them the difficult time that this town has given Mr. Cirque.
Any other comments from the board? Okay, so I'll make a motion to acknowledge that the driveway was reconstructed per the contractor's statement. The board will acknowledge that the Cirque should have sought a permit and acknowledge that a variance is now needed. With that, I move that the board grant a variance to the property driveway with no conditions. Is there a second?
I'll say.
Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor of granting the variance? Opposed? Abstaining? And one recusal. So, 4-2.
For 1-1.
4-1-1. Variance is granted with no conditions.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to item B, 23-54B, consider and possibly act on the adoption of a new ordinance regarding the creation of the Historical Commission. Third discussion.
I don't necessarily feel a need to go into too much detail about this unless the board has specific questions, but for a myriad of reasons, not the least of which is trying to support economic development in buildings that have historic value to the town, but also from the perspective that this town has a very rich history that deserves to be well protected, that deserves to have a town agency looking out for it and looking for opportunities to continue its preservation with the help of state and private funding. I believe that this town deserves to have a historic commission be created. I believe that we have a number of individuals across the town who would be interested in serving on this. I've already had several reach out to me. And I believe that gathering these individuals together under the town's purview puts the town in the driver's seat when it comes to its historic assets. It puts us in a position where we can have more of the individuals who are knowledgeable in the areas of our historic assets in a room together where they have an opportunity to discuss pressing needs and funding opportunities. I believe it has this is an opportunity for us to, like I said, take in more of the state and private funding that's available for historic preservation purposes. And I believe that such a commission would be a good investment of our time and energy. So for those reasons and more that I've discussed at prior meetings, I believe and I recommend to the Board of Selectmen that the newly proposed ordinance entitled Historical Commission be adopted effective 15 days as provided by the town charter.
Any questions or discussions? Candy?
Yeah. What's it cost?
From my perspective, nothing.
So then we would be okay with the motion that said that, approve the historical commission and any costs be funded by state or private grants with regards to said commission and not local property tax. That would be fine.
Yeah, I don't think there's a need because the only item that ever pops up into my head when you talk about a new board or commission is, do you need to pay somebody to take the minutes? And I think you could find a volunteer to take these minutes pretty easily.
Right, but we're approving this not for today, but we're approving
No,
this for
I understand.
multiple years, so I want to make sure that's in there.
I'm fine with it.
So if you're saying there's no cost, then it won't. But you may come up with something where you can get a piece of administrative fees out of a state or private grant that would help whatever the commission wants to do.
Yep,
as long as
the
it's not-
administration of the commission, yep, agreed.
And so then I would make a motion that we finalize the adoption of the ordinance creating the historical commission with any costs that said commission incur be funded by state or private grants.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Candace. Thank you, Candy. Any discussion?
Yeah, if this is going to be a proposal, I'm just wondering, why don't we have an official numbering? I mean, what we have here is XX1, XX2.
Right, so the XXs will be filled in by our new codification program.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
But maybe that's what we should approve, when we see it all done, as opposed to setting this up now with the red lines on page 1, on page 3, 4. I think I'd like to see a clean copy.
And I'm happy to provide that if you so choose. The red lines would simply be removed and the XX would be filled in after I send it to our codification program. However, traditionally, just for your reference, I'm happy to do it, but for your reference, the last several ordinance revisions and new ordinances that have been adopted have used the same methodology, yes, with the same numbering. And traditionally, a number is not assigned until it's adopted.
Fair enough.
We can go out of order if you, into a different order, I should say, if you would like.
I would be glad to amend my motion and say as codified by, was it general code?
General code.
As codified by general code. Or formatted by general code.
And in correspondence at the next meeting, I'll make sure that a clean copy is presented to you.
Because if we approve this tonight, it's ready to go.
Yep.
The ordinances.
15 days.
Right. So yeah, right, not by the time you meet next, because that's only 14 days from now, but the next day after your next meeting, I'll show you the clean copy, and that's what will go into effect.
Okay. Other discussion?
I just want to be clear, we're saying membership must be you must be a resident of the town of Winchester.
Correct.
All in favor? Unanimous. Item C, consider and possibly act on the revisions of the hiring policy.
So, I think at this point, everybody's heard that at the last meeting, the Civil Service Commission ordinance revision, which resulted in the revocation of that ordinance, was passed by the Board of Selectmen. So tomorrow is the 15th day following that decision, which means that it will become effective tomorrow. In lieu of a Civil Service Commission, we have a set of hiring and appointment policies that were reviewed and adopted by the Board of Selectmen and then implemented by me back at the end of December. Technically, I suppose they were put into effect on January 1st. And there have been some suggested changes that were discussed at the last few meetings that have been put into effect, are presented to you as a red line copy so that you can see what's new language, what's old language. And it's my recommendation to the Board of Selectmen that the newly presented hiring and appointment policies be adopted as presented. I'm happy to go through each one piece by piece. Most of these items we've gone through at this point several times, including amendments to the actual practice of hiring, where we will be, for the initial review of applications, redacting information, personally identifying information to ensure that there's no opportunity for a member, current or future, of the town staff to discriminate on the basis of perceived race, gender, et cetera. We have changed our policies in other ways to make sure that we are stronger in the areas, more strongly opposed in the areas of nepotism, cronyism, and favoritism. And most recently, we have put into effect, or rather there was a discussion at the last meeting that now has resulted in the effect of a hiring practice review committee, which is a 3-member committee per page 13 out of 101, a 3-member committee of the Board of Selectmen established to meet no less than quarterly to review the hiring process instituted by the town manager's office. There's more information in there for your review. Happy to go into detail about it. That was a recommendation that came out of this board's discussion at your last meeting. I fully agree with it. I think that it's a great level, it's a perfect balance and a perfect level of oversight from the board over the hiring practices presented herein, and it's my recommendation that you adopt the policies as presented.
How will they be documented? Because you have this page 12 of 101, where page 12 must be new. How do you identify in the hiring in the packet where there's been amendments since January?
So we don't this is the first time we've had an amendment to
Right.
the policies.
That's what I'm bringing up.
From my perspective, I would keep the old draft on file, but put it into an archive format on our town's website and in our online portal. And I would instead place these policies into the document, upload it, send it off to all the town staff and say, please see your newly adopted personnel policy packet. It's effective as of this date. It is the most recent set of adopted policies, and please refer to these for all future inquiries. So that way we have a copy on file of the old policies,
Right.
but we now have the new policies in place.
But I'm wondering if you have something like in the back, like an index,
We could do that.
and you say, you know, because you're removing, well, the Civil Service Commission is being removed from an ordinance, right?
Right.
And then this would be, the hiring practice review would be replacing. So I think there needs to be some sort of index noting that change.
Kind of like in general code, like in our ordinances,
Right.
they were able to break out everything that was changed. Remember they had that and they had a list of the amendments?
Right. And that's what we should have even for our, like our charter and things like that, the identification of what, you know. There's just a sheet that says what's amended, you know?
I completely
in a day.
agree.
Right.
What I would recommend, because I would like these to be adopted before civil service is technically no longer in effect as of tomorrow. So I would recommend adopting these, and on the next agenda, will have an agenda item, or at least under correspondence, where you can
Show
see
us, right.
the index.
Right.
I think that's a great idea.
Because the ordinances, before we took them to general code, on the bottom, they showed, every ordinance showed their amendment date on it. You know, and then it went, and then they were able to somehow do that within their software.
Yep.
What's a problem is when, you know, sheets of paper get all over the place and there's no date on it. Like the first one, if there were a date on the bottom of the page so that you knew this was the current, last updated date of the whole thing,
Yeah.
you know, too.
You're exactly right, and now's the time to start that, because it's the first
Right,
amendment process, and if we start it now and get off to a good start, it will make it easier down the road to document.
Right. Thank
I
you.
totally agree.
On page 13, just to note that we discussed the 3-member Board of Selectmen committee, and then on a little bit further discussion, it also adds in, and Josh did a good job writing this section, you did a nice job putting it into use here, is that we could add somebody to the committee if we so chose. So like, in talking to one resident, they were talking about, what if you had an at-large person, that would just be a check, or work with the Board of Selectmen. So it's there on the bottom of that if we wanted to. And I would also ask after we do this that we set a date and set people to, at the end of September, to do the first review, because we're coming out of the gate with a change, so it would be good to have, well, these are how you do a job posting, this is how the office is gonna do this, how the office is gonna do that. So there's a base plan that's available, even though we kinda know it, but that it puts it into record for these quarterly meetings. And if you do it right at the end of September, beginning of October, it's on the quarter anyway.
And then in November, you would establish the committee.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, the new
The
board
new
could
board,
make sure it's constituted correctly, yep.
right.
So one of the things, the complaints that I've heard many times about getting rid of civil services, the town staff could still show favoritism or cronyism, so I'd just like to read from page 14. Applicants are received, a member of the town staff or other authority as appointed by the town manager shall redact personally identifying information on each application. The hiring authority shall not be permitted to see an unredacted application until such time as a determination has been made whether or not the applicant is a qualified candidate. Personally identifying information shall include, but is not limited to, name, email address, physical address, photo of the candidate, school names, or graduation dates. Can we have a motion?
I make a motion that we adopt
Amended?
the revision of the amended hiring policies as presented by the town manager.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Discussion. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. New business. Item 12A, consider and possibly act on approving a resolution in support of the town submitting an urban garden grant.
So there's an opportunity from the state of Connecticut to award a certain amount of money towards urban green and community garden enhancements. And so this is a matching grant. We want to be upfront and make sure that everybody has an understanding of that. We are currently working with the Sustainable CT program, which has a matching grant component to its operations. And it matches up to 50% of projects in this price range, up to $25,000. And this would give us an opportunity, working with Sustainable CT, to leverage private dollars from Sustainable CT, public dollars from the state of Connecticut, to make improvements to the Tatros Pond Park area and the Wallens Hill Community Garden. The Wallens Hill Community Garden in particular, actually Jim, being here, could probably speak to it better, but has not seen a significant amount of attention or improvement over the last several years. The Tatros Pond Park area, while I know that there is a desire from the Board of Selectmen to try and divert town funds more specifically to roadways and other projects that are of priority, there is a group that has gotten together to try and push forward with improvements at that Pond Park area. We have an opportunity with this to use just state and private funding to move forward with improvements, and I recommend that the Board of Selectmen authorize a resolution as presented here so that we may have the opportunity to submit an application in the amount of $20,000 for improvements at those sites.
Was it in our packets?
So the resolution is in your packet. Sorry.
Josh, I'm going to speak out against, again, putting any money other than the work for the dam at Tatros Pond. I just can't not see public, private, state grants, anything being used for Tatros Pond Park improvements, except the water for the dam, which you would say the dam was falling apart and needed to be fixed, and we've already put some money towards that. But I'd much rather see this kind of money go to a better community garden. And if Wallens Hill is not a good location, and I remember it was often difficult to get water up there. You had to bring water up, and the town had to bring a tanker up and leave water up there. There might be a better place in our community that's more accessible for a community garden. But I would be opposed to any dollar being spent at Tatros Pond.
Other comments?
Yeah, if we make this motion, I would like to include what we just did on that last one, that any matches or any costs come from outside of property taxes and not be matched by property taxes now or in the future. Because we have so many grants out there now that need these matches, and we need to find the funding for all that going forward. So here's another grant that needs half matching. Where are we gonna find the funding? You know, we don't have, we're not matching other than the Sustainable Connecticut, but it has to, if we accept this, it has to just be outside the property tax.
Other comments?
Jim, I wonder if I could call on you just to speak a little bit about what you see happening up at the Wallens Hill Community Gardens, and what can be, is there any better place to locate a community garden? Because as Josh has said, that has not been used very much at all in the last couple of years, has it?
No one knows even how to get to it or
I
access
know,
it.
I know, it's,
There are definitely people who use it. I think it's a question of how much it's being used and to what level it's been invested in as a town asset.
yeah. When it first went in, it got a lot of use. I remember I had a garden up there myself, and it was significantly used. It just has not been over the last, I don't know, 10 years maybe. It's just now lots of weeds. So I'm just curious, Jim, on your position on that and regarding that, as well as is there a better location?
I haven't really thought about a better location, so I'm not gonna speak to that. I'm sure you could find something somewhere somehow, but, it's not a bad location. It's quiet, which is one of the things people like about gardening. There's one guy up there that's been there for 30 years, I think he's, there's, I think, 4 different families gardening right now. And I think the lack of interested gardeners is related to the state of the facility.
Yeah.
I think some weed control, so a little bit of drainage, a better fence. The fence right now, you know, the people at the garden are great. You know, they ask for so little. They said, hey, if you have any old signposts that you've pulled out of the ground that you don't use anymore, we need like 20 of them. You want to hammer them in next to these wooden posts that are rotted and falling off, and zip tie them together to hold it up. Like, they care. They're a good group, and I think it's a viable garden. I think the location is okay. The water, it's not the worst thing in the world. We fill it up. It's, you know, they call us when they need it, and it's usually only once or twice a year.
Yeah, the
This
tank's
year-
big enough for most of that.
Yeah, so I think it's got a lot of potential. And I think it could be expanded should there become more interest. Tetros Pond area for a garden, I don't know, maybe not.
No,
I-
no sun there.
I don't have
There's
a
no sun.
strong, feeling about that one way or another. Now, thinking about gardens, you don't necessarily have to think about vegetable gardens. There's forest gardening, there's edible, you know, there's all kinds of gardening. So, you know, you could have plants, you could have, so don't limit yourself to something that could be done in an area that, you know, so I think the community garden in Wallens Hill could definitely benefit from this. Whether you wanted to spread it out, whether you need to in order to get it to be urban, you know, I don't know where that criteria is if they needed something downtown. You know, we're talking about doing some work off of Hurlbut Street on a town-owned parcel and putting in a water treatment system and having some gardens there. I just don't know that that's gonna come to fruition in the time of the, I don't know a whole lot about the grant. I was aware when they were filling it out, but I just didn't have time to really have a lot of input. But
Is there any field area around the water treatment plant that could be made into community garden?
could be.
No? I don't know.
So
what-
is the Wallens Hill property, that's the town of Winchester's, right?
Yes, we pay taxes on it.
No,
For
I'm-
Barkhamsted. It's in Barkhamsted.
No, that's what I wanna know, is it in Winston or is it in Barkhamsted?
It's in Barkhamsted, we pay like
both.
$30 a year taxes on it.
No, it's both. So the parcel, the majority of it, my understanding, is in Winchester from what I can see on the GIS. But there's a portion of it that goes over the town's border
Yeah.
into Barkhamsted.
And-
The garden itself, I think, is in Winchester.
The garden is in Winchester, and the whole parcel, you know, does go out into Barkhamsted.
I've heard so many different things, so I just wanna
Yep.
clarify that.
We
That's
do
what-
own a portion of a parcel that goes into Barkhamsted.
What is the maintenance cost a year, and what is the implementation of a garden cost? Because that falls on you.
So, obviously, the maintenance is pretty minimal since it looks the way it does. We leave that up to the gardeners. You know, every now and then we'll go up with the roadside mower. We have gone in there, cleaned up the driveway a couple of times, and I'm talking over my 8 years.
But
Resupply it with some
before
stuff.
you came on board, there was a plan where people did apply for plots at Public Works.
They still do.
They still do, but they don't know that. No one knows
It's
that.
not well advertised, though.
Again,
It's not
it's-
advertised at all, right?
Yeah.
So how much does that take away from your workload there to manage this stuff?
Rhonda and Heather really do all of that, so it's kind of hard to quantify. You know, we're multitasking all the time, so. But it's not a significant, it's not a significant amount of effort.
Right, but when you were here a couple meetings ago and we were talking about the drainage, you know, and you said you didn't have the time to get to it, so now here we are expanding another possibility. So if this money comes in, is it gonna be subcontracted? And who's gonna take care of the subcontracting for the money and managing it? So, I mean, because there's, you know, you're putting in a swale, you said a herb on a piece of property. There are so many places that's needed, and now if you go up to the community gardens and you expand your time up there, that means there's less time even to not get to what you said.
Very true. Yeah, I can't argue that fact. You know, it'll certainly take bandwidth on my part to orchestrate what I think is an acceptable design. Might be able to subcontract that right out to the gardeners that are there. You know, they know what it needs more than I do. And then, you know, we would hire a fence company for sure to do the fencing. It's just not cost effective for us. But yeah, it would definitely take a little bit of time away from other projects. I can't deny that at all.
Jim, could you speak to the overall potential of Potato Pond as a recreation area?
I have to give you a caveat because I have a kind of a predisposed idea that it's a great thing, because growing up, every Monday when kids got to school, they talked about the fun they had at Tetros Pond. I lived up in the sticks. I had no idea where Tetros Pond was, but they talked about it all the time. Everything from the fishing derby to the hiking to swimming to, it was super popular. So popular that at one point in time, the town actually tried to do a renovation down there and an improvement, started building structures, and then some punk kids vandalized it, and that was it. They pulled the plug. They never touched it again, and that's why it's in the state that it's in. You know, do we let one, you know, series of actions guide us for eternity? I think not, but I think its location, it's a pretty good part of town for the people in that area. You know, sorry, Jack, but I do think it's a good thing. I ran into a woman the other day. She's 80 years old. She is ecstatic that the town wants to, you know, get it up and going because she has such fond memories of her childhood and her kids' childhood down there. So, you know, I hear stuff like that, and it makes me think, yeah, this is a place that we should put some effort into. So, again, I'm biased by what I've heard, not my own experiences.
Josh, so go back again to Wallace Hill Garden.
Yep.
That's a particular piece of property that could also be for sale.
It could be sold, it's true.
It's flat. It's got water sewer on it? Does not.
No.
Neither.
But it's, how many acres up there?
I'm trying to pull that up right now.
Yeah. Is it about 15? I'm not
I
sure.
think it's more than that.
More than that.
Yeah,
But
when you
most of
combine
it's
it
in
with, between the
Barkhamsted.
two parcels in Winchester and Barkhamsted, it's more than that.
But it's very much water.
I think it's some 30-some
Yeah.
acres.
And
Yeah.
the part that's level is really the only level part.
Jim, are you pulling up the Winchester side or the Barkhamsted side?
I'm pulling up the Winchester side.
I'll see if I can get Barkhamsted.
It's
It says
okay.
It
Just curious.
says 13.82 acres.
That's what I was thinking. Was
It's
that
more
13?
than that.
But I think that's probably on the Winchester side.
Right.
And I think there's probably about that much on the other side,
Yeah.
but I don't
The other side of the road?
know
No,
the other
no.
side of the border.
Oh.
Down the hill, it's water.
Which is up, which is in Barkhamsted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a relatively wet site though. High groundwater, shallow bedrock, poorly draining soils, very rocky.
Couldn't be buildable?
We don't have a
I
lot of
don't
level
know.
land.
I'd have to see deep hole tests and perk tests to know. I mean, could you probably find a place to build on 13 acres? I'd be surprised if you couldn't.
Yeah. So that's another piece of property we could put on the grand list.
Now, you could keep the garden and subdivide the property.
Yeah.
So, because I think the best building spot is on the other side of,
Well, that house up there, are we still owning that house?
No.
Did somebody rent it?
somebody owns it, a realtor owns the house, the brick house next to it,
Yeah.
it's owned by a realtor.
Yeah,
Mary
that brick
something.
house is not part of it. If you can
No,
see,
I remember, I was just up there to.
She rents it
so
out.
the property goes around it and then into Barkhamsted.
Ah, the house is separate.
Yeah, it's not
Completely
ours.
separate. Oh, okay.
The house is in that cutout. See that? The house is in that little cut, oops. That wasn't intended.
Isn't that fancy?
Just asking.
My neck of the woods.
I lost it. That's all right.
Sorry.
Other comments or questions? So, on my opinion, both of these, I'm in favor of this resolution for simply the fact that Tetros Pond and the Wallens Community Gardens are both assets of the town. Tetros Pond, sure, it was neglected for a little while, but it has potential, as so does Winchester Lake, Park Pond up in Winchester, and to an extent, a much smaller version than Highland Lake. People in the community ask all the time for more things to do outside. We need to promote them better, but we do have those options. So that I am in favor of this resolution.
Can I make a motion?
Absolutely.
Move that we approve the resolution to apply for and accept urban green community grants, and any match required not come from local property tax, but from other grant sources or private funds.
And I'll second.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Candy. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Just a quick aside, for the record, the property that the town owns in Barkhamsted appears to be labeled as 12 Swanson Road, and according to the Barkhamsted town website, it is 50.48 acres.
I thought it was
50.48
I thought it was 50
acres.
acres myself.
I didn't know if it was 50
So is that
combined
50
or
total or just
50.
50 in
in
That's
there.
just
No, I thought it was
Barkhamsted
only
plus
50.
13 in Winchester,
I didn't
so
think
16.
I didn't think there was any in Winchester.
But anything that was done on that line has to also be approved by Barkhamsted. We could sell it, but no
Correct.
building can be done there until Barkhamsted approves that kind of thing.
Correct.
Thanks, Jim. Moving on to item 13, executive session to include the town manager, Josh Kelly, to discuss the sale of town-owned land and discuss contract negotiations. Can I have a motion to go into executive session? So moved. So moved, 9:03. Thank you. And a second from? Jonathan, thank you.
Executive session. What I wrote you earlier, by the way. Steve, this is what I wrote you earlier.
We got this from somebody.
Nothing to say, you know. Legal trouble? Is this a wed? What's going on? He said he officiated a wedding. But it was a good conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. He's got a lot of stuff for like New Roses, you know, stuff about lawful, like what,
Yeah, he's told me he had to volunteer about
yeah.
part of this, I think. Okay.
No, no, very much so. It sounded like they were, sounded like that kind of
We are back from executive session at 10:34 PM. We have no action to take in from executive session. Steve? Or actually, Selectmen's comments and reports.
Yes, I have one. I'll go quick. The poles for the lights are going up tomorrow down at Walker Field. So there'll be 4 poles up in the air, and they're gonna start the trenching process, I believe, along with it, and they should be up and operational soon.
I have 3 announcements. So Thursday's the last summer concert, it's Kenmore Band. And then on the 23rd, we're going to have the Winchester Conservation Commission and Friends of Main Street for the annual Fall River Community Cleanup. And then on the 30th, we're going to have the Fall Foliage Festival and Car and Motorcycle Show.
That's September 30th, right?
September 30th, sorry, yes. That's it.
Oh, so it's this monument?
9/11.
9/11, 5 o'clock. Band, open picnic time, bring your sandwiches or seats or whatever. And that's 9/11 because of the dedication of the monument happened on September 11th in 1890. And it happened on September 11th because that was the day most of the first Civil War soldiers mustered in from the town on September 11th. So there's a combination. New York is a different story, September 11th, we all know that, but anyway, Soldiers Monument.
The United States, not New York.
Fireman's Carnival this week. Parade is Saturday?
Yes.
Yep, Saturday at 6. Fireworks are
Friday at 9.
Friday at 9 PM. Anyone else?
I move we adjourn.
A second.
Hey, Jonathan, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? So, these, and, actually, you know what? I got a guy, never mind.
Do you really?
Yes. I got a guy. We'll see if we can find one for that
Have a
one.
guy for table mics?
Yeah.
That's, you got,
Yeah, my brother's in right now. I'll just have a borrow one for the radio.
I bet you Steve Williams.
yeah, I bet Steve Williams.
Yeah, see if Steve is so long. These are pretty hard on that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda.
Good night, Jonathan. So we had 11 people viewing on YouTube for a while.